Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. You're very welcome to our afternoon webinar with 11 and Genesis. Delighted to welcome you all on board this afternoon. As usual, we'll give everybody a couple of minutes just to log in. We normally start just at 2 minutes past the hour of the agreed time. So on screen today, you'll see Niamh from WSI. You're probably fed up at myself and Niamh at this stage in all of these webinars, but we'd be lost without her for our technical support. And obviously we have Kim Robertson, who's the Customer Experience Director with 11. So hi, Kim. And we also have Amanda Halpin, who's the EMEA Strategic Solutions Lead with Genesis. So delighted to have you both on the webinar this afternoon and for 11 to be sponsoring it. The title for today's discussion is New CX Strategies for Overcoming Uncertain Times. And I think as we slowly go through this COVID-19 pandemic, there's highs and lows, and hopefully we're getting out the other side. Even though I was just listening to the news there earlier on and all this debate about, Kim, you wouldn't have heard this because I know you're based in the UK, about reopening pubs and a 90-minute slot. How that's going to work is certainly interesting, to say the least, as to how people will suddenly start doing a lot of pub crawls by the sounds of things to go from one to the next. But anyway, that's a problem for another day. So as always, we're recording. We would like to make this as interactive as possible. So please do put your questions in the panel to the right-hand side, and I can obviously put them to Amanda and Kim as they come along. And our goal is to complete the webinar within half an hour, but we are allowing maybe an extra 5 or 10 minutes for questions, but we're happy to take them throughout the webinar as well. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Kim. Thank you very much, Kim, and really look forward to the discussion this afternoon. Thank you.
That's great, Dorothy. And I know, I must admit, you were talking about pub crawls. I think in the UK, they were talking about restricting everybody to just having 3 pints. So I think, again, there's similar debates about having kind of like pub crawls, but interesting topic, which we're not covering this afternoon, I'm afraid. But thank you for taking the time out to kind of like join Amanda and myself. Hopefully you'll find this as interesting. Certainly, as Dorothy said, it's a topic that has shown a lot of interest over the last kind of like few months as to how we can start to blend and automate humans and those automated kind of like bot channels kind of together and help that certainly deal with the unexpected times that we're facing. So initially, I'm just going to talk through some recent research that MIT has done, supported by Genesis, just to give you a bit of background. And then Amanda will start to take you through, in a sense, reality and what certainly predictive engagement can do from a Genesis perspective, and hopefully help yourselves. So next slide, Amanda. MIT has certainly carried out research in 2018, July 2018, where they surveyed up to 600 executives around the world. 115 of those 150 were actually in Europe. That research in Europe that the spotlight was on included 5 countries, which was France, Germany, Italy, Sweden, and also kind of the UK. The surveys were across 10 verticals, of which manufacturing and retail were the highest, about kind of 40%. But certainly it covered a whole kind of like gambit. There was also some interviews with some strategic executives from those companies, as well as a general survey. So I'm just going to spend a few minutes just going through their general themes that came out of that. And the reports are available to download from our website. So if you want kind of like any further detail, the reports are available. So next slide, Amanda. From the US research that certainly showed that in 2018, 20% of their households that had internet connected, voice activated smart speakers, 62 million US individuals were interacting with digital assistants kind of more than once a month. From the European side, that's been kind of like less pronounced. The concern certainly within Europe has been more about kind of like privacy. But certainly from a European perspective, 9 in 10 of those that were surveyed have actually deployed at least 6 major AI applications up to kind of like 2018. So that's been anything from chat boxes to automated self-service channels to AI-enabled sentiment analysis. Europe, certainly across the globe, was actually the highest in their deployment at 26%. And within that, France actually deployed 33% within the French kind of like respondents. I'd actually deployed AI for up to kind of like 2 years. So they were certainly kind of like the longest with their AI deployment. Interestingly, actually, those within Europe, 92% have actually seen improvements in the speed of complaint resolution. So they're seeing some efficiency gains. And 82% actually reported an increase in processing customer call volumes. So we're seeing the likes of Lloyds Banking Group, which have their own machine intelligence program, which are using actually robotic process automation across 90 of their processes. And they've actually seen savings of 1,700 hours per day. So we're certainly seeing kind of quite a strong impact of even like simple chatbots on workload and processes. And Juniper Research actually reckons that by 2023 in the retail sector, that the industry will actually save $11.5 billion from the use of chatbots in cost, and also generate over about $112 billion in actually kind of like sales revenue. So again, it's kind of showing a lot of kind of positivity in efficiency gains. Next slide. Generally, what we're seeing kind of like globally is that—
Give me one second. I'm having a little technical issue, so just you can continue on for a second.
Can you talking?
One moment.
No problem. So when Amanda kind of, as we always get the technical issues when that gets started, globally we're seeing about a quarter to half of the inquiries are being resolved through automation, which is quite powerful. You probably can't see the detail of the diagrams kind of like in question, but again, as I said, kind of like downloads of the reports are available. And certainly 80% are actually using predictive AI to provide agent prompts, which will actually start to show in kind of like demo as we move forward. In Europe, 40% of that automation has been 10 to 25% transactions have been automatically assisted. And even 28% are up to kind of about 50% of their transactions being automated, which is very impressive. France and Germany, again, are the highest, with France 50 to 75%. UK is a bit of a laggard. They're the lowest in Europe at the moment, with only 32% have got kind of like less than 10%. But I think what is interesting is that kind of 2/3, though, are seeing an increase in their operating costs as a result. But even still, we've got 51% are confident to increase their revenue by greater than 10%. And although the UK is lagging behind, actually 42% have actually seen their revenue increase by 10%, which is kind of quite impressive. I think what's interesting is that in a similar webinar last Wednesday, Nicola Millard went through her research that they'd actually kind of done at BT, and they were actually kind of showing that call volumes are still increasing and were increasing rapidly during 2019. And that was actually as a result of, they believe that kind of like digital was actually failing. And one of those reasons was actually what you kind of classify as vent time, that customers were getting annoyed that the fact that as they moved from one channel to the next, they were having to repeat their details again and again, even from moving from automated channels across to a human channel. And that was kind of proving an issue. Hopefully I'm going to hand across to Amanda now, and she's actually going to start to kind of like demonstrate the predictive side of things from Genesis and how that can help and hopefully get over this kind of vent time. So less stats from me, and over to you, Amanda. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Kim. And you know, I love a lot of those statistics, because it really shows and brings to light what we're seeing with our customers. And I thought, you know, before getting into the details of the technology, I thought it'd be really nice just to take a step back and to think about what your favorite non-digital experience is. So have a think about that, and you can share it in the chat if you want. For me, it's a bookstore, and I cannot wait to get to my my local bookstore when they're open for business very, very soon. And for me, why is this such an important experience? Because it's a sensorial experience. In the bookstore, I can feel the books, I can touch them. Well, I used to be able to, hopefully we'll be now with our gloves. But you know, you can really look at the visuals of the cover books, you can smell the paper, you can hear lots of people chattering. Sometimes they have book readings, etc. So it's a really nice personable experience as a consumer. And not only that, I have knowledge of the librarian that works at the bookstore. So she or he is very knowledgeable, typically has been there for quite some time. So they'll recognize me, they know my genre of the book that I like, and they can recommend books for me to try. And I trust their instinct and I trust their opinion because they've been right time and time again. And this really helps in the selling process, both before and after. Before, because I have that great sensorial experience, and after, because I know I'll go back to that bookstore and give them repeat business if that experience has lived up to my expectation. However, we don't have a lot of this experience anymore. Well, we're starting to now open up, which is fantastic. But the experience that we knew and loved is going to change, and it simply will. From a business perspective, many stores are opening last week and this week, but not at 100% capacity. And then from a consumer perspective, the ability to feel and touch everything and lift up books, for example, just won't really be there in the same capacity. So what we need to do as organizations is bring that experience, that in-store experience, to the digital channel, so to your websites, because what we're seeing is more and more business, more and more consumers are turning to digital to conduct their day-to-day, whether it's shopping for a new insurance or going to the bank for a new product, a new loan, for example, or retail. You know, everything, given that the physical store or your bricks and mortar was taken away from us, we essentially, or the consumer was really forced to embrace digital. And from a business perspective, it can be very difficult to influence prospects in that digital space, and simply because it's a very short window. On average, according to Statistica, only 6 minutes is spent on average by anyone on a website. If you think about in comparison to your local bank, for example, if you're shopping for a new loan or a new savings account, you'll go into your bank and you might ask to speak to a sales assistant, have a chat with them. You might look at the brochures. You're not in there 6 minutes. You're in there a lot longer than 6 minutes. Well, I know for personally, I would be in a lot longer. So there, in comparison, the digital consumer, their attention span is a lot lower. And as a business, you need to understand who do you need to be influencing and how are you going to do that. And back to what Kim was saying around digital, what we've seen is, we all know that in order to create loyalty, businesses need to have a differentiated customer experience strategy. But we all know that the number one destroyer is actually silos. So silos within your departments and silos within your channels. And again, this goes back to what Kim explained previously around how BT described it. Our digital channels have failed previously because we essentially created silos. So a customer may chat in on the web and then send a direct message on social media, but the agent in the back end had no context around the different interactions that were coming in, and it created vent time. So that's when a customer has to explain themselves over and over again what they're calling or what they're contacting about. And that's essentially what a lot of digital channels did, kind of segmented everything. So consumers had to start their conversation. And it happens in departments also. I'm sure we've all had those experiences where we've received a marketing email for a new promotion about a new credit card or whatever it may be. And then you call the contact center and the agent has no clue what you're talking about. They haven't been briefed that there's a new promotion happening. So, you know, we really need to help ourselves to connect those dots. And at Genesis, this is where predictive engagement comes in. So in essence, it's a customer journey analytics platform for real-time engagement, which is all powered by Genesis Cloud AI. And it uses AI to observe, analyze, and personalize customer experience by engaging with the right customer at the right time in the right way. A little side note, predictive engagement is actually the result of an acquisition that Genesis made just over in 2018, so just over two years ago. So that was the acquisition of a small Irish startup called Alto Cloud, which was based in Galway, and we're still based there. I'm very proud to say I was a part of that startup, so it's been absolutely fantastic to see this product and the team grow and evolve as we've been embraced by the Genesis family. And how has the product evolved? Well, I'll give you a quick example of what it is, and then I'll show you some visuals so you can really get a good idea about what it does. So essentially, we are analyzing your web traffic in real time. We're looking at customer behaviors and attributes. We're then applying machine learning to predict the buyer's intent. So for example, if my likelihood to purchase something or to complete a form is high and that likelihood reduces, we're using these insights about the customer, about our predictions to engage at the right time. And that can be with a bot, it can be with a human, it can be with personalized content, and there's many ways to engage. And the objective here is to increase your conversion rates. So to increase your lead generation, to increase your your actual bookings or your sales, but also to increase other business KPIs that you may have. So for example, if you're trying to increase digital containment, if you're trying to reduce voice contact, you can use those objectives in our machine learning to predict when someone is likely to do those and offer engagement to bring them down a different path. So let's see it in action. So we have Sarah here. Sarah has just bought a new Fiat 500 and she's very excited to get it on the road now that she can travel within more than 5 kilometers in her county anyway. So she goes to G Insurance, which is the insurance company which she has her home insurance with. And she starts looking at the different products of, insurance products for cars that they have. And she starts looking at the application form, but she doesn't actually complete it. She still has some questions. So she's backing out. She's not sure what she wants. And in the background, this predictive engagement powered by Genesis AI, which is analyzing her journey in real time. It's looking at her behaviors. If she's an existing customer with G Insurance, we're looking at what she's doing on the website and her likelihood to complete a form. And as you can see here, we've segmented her as an auto insurance prospect, and her likelihood to complete the form is quite high. That's what the green bar indicates. And as her journey continues, her likelihood to complete the quote form increases dramatically. And now we see some red. So that indicates that her likelihood to complete the form has actually reduced. And as a result, we're using that insight to trigger an engagement. And in this scenario, we're triggering Kate, who is our virtual assistant, aka a chatbot. And Kate is able to seamlessly answer her very simple questions around the areas that she got stuck in the quote form, such as the mileage and where she's going to be parking it. And as a result, Kate has been able to walk her through the quote, and now Sarah has actually completed a quote. However, it doesn't stop there. We all understand that virtual bots can satisfy simple transactional queries, but sometimes the customer or prospect may need to talk to someone. And what we're doing here is we have invited Sarah to be transferred to an agent, a voice agent. And when this happens, the voice agent will have all of Sarah's context. It'll understand her previous interactions, not only with the bot, but if she's had any other emails or voice or web chat, social media conversations with this organization before. It will look at her context and how she's been segmented. So for example, here we've segmented, she's been segmented as a hot prospect. We can look at her current journey stage, so where she is on her digital journey, and we can also see the AI predictions. And it's this that enables agent productivity. So your average handle times will reduce as a result of having all of this customer context. Your agents are going to be able to personalize the experience, and they're going to be able to reduce vent time. So in this scenario, Sarah would have little to no venting because all the information is at the agent's fingertips for them to use and for them to have a great, meaningful conversation with the customer. And it's seamless experiences like these which we strive for, and it's these experiences that really make a digital experience very similar to that bookstore experience that I described at the beginning. And it's because we're creating empathy. We're understanding and recognizing that customers and prospects can't just self-serve on digital. They do need assistance, and we're being empathetic by offering that assistance in the right time. We're building up trust as well, because if we can act as true advisors to our customers, they're going to be able to trust us more and value our opinion instead of just thinking that this person is reading off a script. And then finally, this will create loyalty. And as we all know, loyalty increases profits. So according to HBR, even a 5% increase in loyalty can have dramatic impact on your profits. And we've seen this across the board, from our marketing teams to sales teams and care teams with our customers. They've seen great benefits using predictive engagement and Genesis AI to really understand when they should be intervening, engaging with a prospect or customer with either automation through bots or through chat or personalized content. So from a marketing perspective, we've been able to achieve 40% more leads using predictive engagement in a B2B perspective. So, you know, they were using this particular customer used to use a chat vendor that, you know, wasn't connected to their contact center, was just it was like a silo point solution, didn't have any connections. And you know, that meant that they didn't have that context streaming through the contact center. And when they started using predictive engagement, they saw a huge uplift in the quality of leads, which obviously had an impact on their conversion rates also. From a sales perspective, we have a large European bank that uses predictive engagement on their personal loan applications. And we've been able to achieve a 14 times improvement on their conversions for those applications. And finally, in care, we've seen great successes in increasing CSAT and NPS scores. So I've kind of shown you a lot of information there. You know, we've looked at the journey around how how can we translate that great personal experience online. We've looked at the issues and challenges our customers can see if we have a fragmented and disjointed digital journey. And then I've shown you some of the technology behind it that really helps you connect those dots to make sure that it's a seamless experience for your customer. So I'll hand it over to Kim now to give you some more information.
Oh, great. Thanks, Amanda. Hopefully that's given you some food for thought, certainly some kind of like interesting options and kind of like demonstration there. Again, if you want further information, or actually if you want to go into a demo in greater detail, just please get in contact. Also, there's other options that Genesis have available, and certainly even from a cloud perspective, as you can see from the advert, they're even talking about 30 days free. So if you'd like to speak to us about that, then please do. As I said, the report in more detail that I went through very quickly at the beginning from MIT, which is very interesting. There's two reports, as I said. There's the global one, and then there's a spotlight on Europe. You can actually download those from our website. So please get in contact. Hopefully you found it of interest. And I'll open it back to Dorothy just in case there's any questions.
Great, thanks, Kim. Yeah, I mean, I think it all sounds so simple, but I suppose the first question I'd have is how simple is it to start? I mean, I'm conscious there's a couple of companies in the telco entertainment industry on, a couple in the retail, actually a book company, which is of interest. So usually I don't have any particular questions, but how do you start with AI, and do you need a whole load of data to make it even work, and therefore do you need data analysts and data specialists to kickstart it?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Dorothy, and it's a question that I get asked quite frequently. The great question is, Genesis has actually done a lot of the hard work for you, so you don't need a team of data scientists to conduct this machine learning. We have an out-of-the-box machine learning capabilities. So once a bit of Java SDK is deployed into the website, machine learning actually starts kicking off within days. So the more web traffic you have, if anyone out here are Google Ads users, it can be, it'd be quite similar to how that would work in terms of the information needed for machine learning to work. So as I said, you deploy a snippet of code onto your website, and after a couple of days, we'll start to see some machine learning insights. And we've, as Kim was saying, we've run a 30-day free trial. Within that 30-day free trial, we can get a very simple use case for machine learning to start learning up and running in 90 minutes. So in an hour and a half, you could have something up and running very, very simply.
And are you better, Kim, to start with something simple in terms of mapping what sort of inquiries onto your website, and therefore where you're getting the most frequent inquiries, putting that there up first as the process to put in place using AI?
Yeah, I was going to say definitely. I think kind of from everything that we've seen, where the benefits are certainly those kind of like high volume, repetitive kind of like processes. So start off kind of like very simply. And what that actually does is that actually gives your agents, certainly in the contact center, more time to actually spend on the high value. It probably sounds kind of common sense, but it does allow them to spend more time kind of building that customer intimacy and spending more time with the customer. And Amanda says you can get it up and running within 90 minutes, but then that allows you to kind of build upon it. And actually, if you look at Lloyds Banking Group website, they've got some kind of good examples as well, whereas they're up to now kind of like 90 processes that they're doing. And that does allow you to spend more time on the complex. And I think certainly now, kind of customers are wanting to spend more time talking. So take away what is repetitive and easy and allow your agents to spend that time kind of talking, definitely.
And I think just to add to that, we've seen a lot of, I was just saying, we've seen a lot of organizations having to change to remote working very, very quickly. It might necessarily have been on the roadmap. And in the places where it worked very well is kind of having that agile approach where you might take chunks of work in sprints of 2 or 3 weeks, and starting off with those, simple use cases and building up from that, in comparison to what we would have probably done a few years ago, or even last year, where we look at a roadmap and we look at all the technology, and it might take us 12 months to decide the roadmap and then another 12 months to deploy. A lot of this technology can be tested very easily in consumable time, so it doesn't need to be a 2-year project.
Yeah,
and if it's something you can, sorry, no, I was going to ask him, is it something you can switch off and on easily? So if it's not working, you switch it off. And sorry, Kim, I cut over you there.
Yeah, no. I think that's, as Amanda said, that's kind of the flexibility, agile for it, kind of like theme, is that we've actually been setting up kind of like contact centres within 48 hours during kind of like COVID, as people are wanting to work from home and a quick response. So you can start to, I mean, instead of, as you know, as Amanda was saying, taking kind of weeks and months to design and analyse, we're actually now doing things in hours and kind of like days, actually setting up kind of contact centres very quickly, which gives you the flexibility to actually expand and also kind of like decrease. So certainly, and I think kind of I heard kind of in one session that a customer had said that had the highest and the lowest volumes within literally kind of 10 days. And this kind of gives you the flexibility, and it's the advantage of cloud, that it's just like water, you switch it on, you switch it off. So you can reach your highest and you can actually have the flexibility to reach your lowest within those 10 days. And it allows you in a sense to concentrate on the customer and not start to worry about technology and whether technology would work. So yeah, it's flexible.
Conscious of time, but one other quick question, and I know we talked about this with Nicola last week, and Kim, I know you were on that webinar, but there was this whole notion of the digital channels not filling customer expectations, and I actually found that myself recently trying to shop online, that quite a few companies turn their phones off, and you know, trying to get a bit more information than what's available, and it's very frustrating because there's nobody there to talk to. So I know she had spoken about people going back to traditional channels. So do you see that happening as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a case of if you give people more choice and certainly more channels, then they'll start to use it. I think the key thing is, as Amanda was demonstrating, that from an agent's perspective and the person that's handling the call, or even watching what's happening kind of from an automated perspective, you have that information, you have that detail available. Because I mean, I think it's a good phrase when they talk about vent time. You know, there's some quite good savings that you can actually get from even making sure that that information is available to kind of agents when the customer phones in as to kind of what issues that they've had, because otherwise you're going to spend another kind of 40-50 seconds venting because you're really upset because that information hasn't transferred from channel to channel. So it's yeah, certainly seeing that happen.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Over booking slots of shopping. Sorry, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I know. I 100% agree with you. And you know what I did see, and this is just talking as a customer, what I did see was a lot of organizations actually cut out their digital channels at the very start of COVID, which meant that customers were in queue on an IVR for, you know, hours, you know, a long time. And that was, you know, that could have been very detrimental to the customer experience and maybe NPS as well, because and loyalty, because you have to think, if it's the customers that really embraced the different channels and was there for at that right moment during COVID, because it was a very stressful ordeal for, you know, an awful lot of people, and still is. You know, from my perspective, I had purchased a few things and I was wondering if the returns policy in the shops were going to change. So like it was quite a fairly low complexity question, and some retailers got it right and others didn't, but having a very simple FAQ bot to alleviate that basic question coming into your contact center made 100% sense. And from my perspective, for some of the retailers who had that set up, I was very impressed, and you know, I'm definitely going to go and shop with them again. And then just to Kim's other point, I think these days we've had to embrace digital more and more, and it's the customers who have that joined up experience. So it doesn't matter if you're chatting on a DM or if you're on web chat or whatever it may be. If the organization has that context, so, you know, they're running the channels all from the same platform and they have that context with the different interactions, that's when the interaction and the experience is more seamless. and you're going to see better CSAT and NPS scores from the consumers.
I'm conscious of the time, so one last question from Ken. Do you expect an upturn in video engagement? And he just makes the observation now even 8-year-olds are using Zoom. That's Ken from Mexico. So do you think video?
I don't know. I worked in a large organization, another one before Genesis and before Alta Cloud, and we did test video in the contact center, and it didn't really resonate, because if you think about it, sometimes you might be contacting someone on your lunch break, whatever it may be, so you might necessarily be able to give it the time. But it all depends, you know, if banking, for example, if that becomes more virtual, or you know, looking at houses, if the experience becomes more virtual, we may see a higher adoption with video. But you know, I sometimes have broadband issues myself, so I'm hoping my video stayed okay here. But yeah, I think we probably will, but it's not going to explode in the next couple of months, I don't think.
Yeah, I know. In a sense, I would agree, and it was something actually that came out of Nicola Millard's research as well. Is it's probably one of the channels that hasn't really taken off, but where it has been specialist. So I think we've seen, again, going through COVID, doctor surgeries, obviously not going in, that's been held over video. And I think even going forward, you know, from a health service point of view, a lot of that is still going to go there. Mortgage, certainly for those complex products where you need a bit more of a face-to-face and an explanation. So I'm thinking, you know, so I suppose in answer to Ken's question, no for the high volume, but I think certainly yes, we're seeing it in those kind of like specialist areas, definitely.
Great, thank you, and thanks for your question, Ken. So thank you, I'm conscious of time, so we're just gone slightly over 7 minutes over our allotted time, and Ken said thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Just to remind everybody, a recording of the webinar, a copy of the presentation, I know it's a large file, but we'll get it off you, Amanda, and that'll all be available hopefully tomorrow. And Eugene, a few thanks coming in there, so thank you once again. And thank you so much to Kim and to Niamh. And just on our normal housekeeping, just to remind everybody, our next webinar is on Friday, and it's Ask the Expert with Eric Milan, Director of Customer Experience with Virgin. So I know some of the guys from Virgin are on this call, so I'm sure they're all coming up with really tough questions for us to ask Eric. So please send them through. But that'll be at 11 o'clock on Friday, and all of the details are up on our website. So thanks, Amanda. Thanks, Kim. Thanks, Niamh, as always. And we'll hopefully see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.